Hello and welcome to the Raven Batch Command System for Windows Pro Tools Basic Training. We will be taking you through how to locate, use, and program some of our most popular batch commands included by default in your Raven software. If you have not yet already, be sure to first watch the Raven for Windows Pro Tools Quick Start by clicking here before continuing. Let's begin. On Layout 1, I have access to my track creation and naming batch commands. First, let's create 8 new audio tracks by hitting the labeled New Audio Track batch command 8 times and hit Return on the keyboard. Now, let's name these 8 new tracks Lead Vocals 1 through 8. Double-click the top of the new track so the top track's name window is open and the text is highlighted. Now, let's hit the Name Lead Vocals times 8 batch command. And it's done. We've also included copy name batch commands that will copy a pre-existing name and paste the text with numbering across the tracks. Watch as I name the first of 8 tracks Orchestra and now hit the copy name down times 8 batch command, and Raven will copy your custom text and paste it down the sequential tracks using unique numbering progressively for each track. On Layout 3, we have included a variety of adding plugin batch commands. Using the light blue batch commands labeled Add to Insert 1, we can add a notated plugin to insert one of all selected tracks. Let's select these 3 tracks by hitting the Control Modifier button here and gliding my finger across the additional tracks. Now, we'll hit Add Default EQ to Insert 1. The batch command will instantly add the default EQ as set in your Pro Tools preferences to the selected tracks. Before I can add another plugin, it's important to always close the open plugin windows first. We have included the Hide Floating Window button on the Raven toolbar here. Hit the Hide Floating Window button to toggle on and off all open plugin windows. Now that we have successfully added a plugin to Insert 1 and have hit the Hide Floating Window button, I can now add a second plugin to Insert 2. I can use the light green Add Insert 2 batch commands for this. I'll hit Add Default Dynamics Insert 2, which is labeled DYN for Dynamics, and it will now add the default Dynamics plugin set within your Pro Tools preferences to the selected tracks like so. I can repeat this process by clicking alternate Add to Insert batch commands to continue adding to the plugin chain. It's important to note that when adding or removing plugins, your track list is showing and the Pro Tools mix window was aligned properly with the red line provided. We have also included preset plugin chain batch commands that, when used, add a plugin chain to the selected tracks. If you have not already added favorite plugins to Pro Tools, you'll need to add these before the favorite plugin batch commands will function. To do this, hold the Control Modifier key down on the keyboard and, using the mouse, click on an empty insert. Still without lifting your finger from the Control Modifier key, scroll through your plugin lists and locate a plugin you'd like to set as a favorite. Click the plugin from the list, and now, when I click on the insert again, I'll see the favorite plugin set to the top here. Now, I can reference my favorite plugins with batch commands. On the Essentials palette, I click the yellow EQ Dyne Fave 1-2 Chain batch command and watch it automatically add my default EQ, my default dynamic, and my top 2 favorite plugins. Note: these batch commands are programmed to move to the third drop-down menu of the Insert selection window and will select DSP for HDX TDM users. However, there are native favorite plugin options available on the Essentials palette of Layout 3 and within the quick list. Important: when using the Add Plugin to Insert batch commands, be sure that all plugin windows are closed and the floating Raven tools such as the Floating Toolbar, Essentials Palette, and Floating Mixer are not covering the first of the selected tracks. These batch commands will not function if the first track of the selected tracks is covered. This is an example of correctly locating the Floating Toolbar. This is an example of incorrectly locating the Floating Toolbar. Removing plugins from selected tracks. Let's select the tracks we just added the plugin chain to and now hit Clear Inserts A through E, which is located on the Essentials palette. Just like adding them, the batch command will show only the selected tracks and clear the inserts from the A through E racks, and then restore the previous tracks once complete. On Layout 2, we have included a collection of Audiosuite batch commands. The green Audiosuite batch commands will open the Audiosuite itself and allow for adjustment. The yellow batch commands on the Audiosuite panel can be used for presets and previewing. Last, the red batch commands on this panel can be used for preset Audiosuite plugin rendering. Let's open our Virtual Mix Rack Audiosuite, also known as VMR, and add a revival. I'll add a little shimmer and thickness to the plugin. Once it's where I want it to be, I can click Render Audiosuite plugin and lock in my settings to the selected audio. We've also included Audiosuite Renders, which are preset renders that will open various Audiosuite plugins, make preset adjustments, and then render the adjustment with one button. Let's select the vocal here and put a telephone effect on it. Hit the red EQ7 Telephone Render batch command, and it will open the Avid EQ7 Audiosuite plugin, select Telephone from the Presets menu, and click Render. With batch commands, it's easy to quickly convert selections of tracks to various automation states. On the floating toolbar of Basic Layout 2, I'll just select the tracks I want to change, for example, Touch, and then hit the Enable Touch batch command. This button will click the selected tracks and convert their automation status to touch. Important: when using the automation batch commands, be sure that all plugin windows are closed and the floating Raven tools such as the floating toolbar, Essentials palette, and floating mixer are not covering the first of the selected tracks. These batch commands will not function if the first track of the selected tracks is covered. This is an example of incorrectly locating the floating toolbar. This is an example of correctly locating the floating toolbar. On the floating toolbar of Basic Layout 1, we have included Track and Clip Color batch commands. Now, let's change the color of these 5 selected audio tracks and clips. On the floating toolbar, hit Make Selected Clips Tracks Yellow. And just like that, the audio tracks and regions are now yellow. On Layout 3, we have included BA Open Plugin and AB Open Plugin. These batch commands are designed for surveying plugins above and below each other on inserts 1 and 2. For example, I have 2 EQs on this vocal track and I want to see which EQ I prefer most on this track. First, I'll bypass the plugin below and open the plugin above. Now, I'll hit AB Open Plugin and the batch command will bypass the current EQ, scroll to the EQ below it, open it, and unbypass the second EQ. Now, I can review the original EQ by hitting the BA Open Plugin batch command. This time, it bypasses the lower plugin, scrolls back up to the upper EQ, and unbypasses the upper EQ. A will only reference insert A within inserts A through E. B will only reference insert B within inserts A through E. You can find C through D and D through E inserts within the quick list. If I'm tracking and I want to make a headphone mix, the Raven can now do this for you. Select the tracks that you want to send to headphones, and on Layout 4, you'll find Headphone Mix HD. Click Headphone Mix HD. The batch command will create a stereo auxiliary track and name it Headphones. Then it will copy the send to all selected tracks and then copy the audio fader level to the send fader level. You can control where the created auxiliary track appears by clicking an empty send rack and clicking New Track. A window will open with an option to create next to current track. Check this on or off to your preference and then hit Create one time. This will lock the preference change in the session for future auxiliary creation. Note: Headphone Mix is an HD-only batch command. If you are on LE system, Pro Tools does not offer the Copy to Send feature. Starting on the Edit window, I have a few drum tracks that have been played out of time. This next batch command will separate transients and snap them to the grid. Then we'll fade them and consolidate the entire selection. First, on the Essential palette of Layout 4, if the grid hasn't been adapted to the song's tempo, let's select the first bar and hit the Tempo Map 1 bar batch command. Note: please make sure conductor as well as tab to transient is turned on before tempo mapping. Also, be sure the grid value is set to the desired quantize value. Now, simply select the audio you want to correct and hit Snap to Grid, Fade, Consolidate below the Tempo Map 1 bar batch command and watch it work. You can perform this batch command with single or multiple tracks at a time. One that is a real time saver is converting audio to MIDI. In this example, I have recorded an audio track of the kick drum, but this could be any type of audio you'd want to convert to MIDI. We'll create a new instrument track below the audio track you wish to convert and cut or copy one MIDI note on the piano roll that you want to represent the audio above it. In this case, I'll locate the MIDI note to trigger the kick in my Stephen Slate drums. Now, I'm going to highlight the note and cut it as mentioned previously. Before I hit the audio to MIDI times 25 batch command, I'll need to locate my cursor before the first transient of the audio track I want to replicate. Now, watch the MIDI note we cut paste to each transient. I can easily adjust how many notes this batch command pastes by pushing and holding the batch command, and within the programming interface, changing the number of repetitions here, although it's also easy to continue hitting the batch command to paste more as well. Here, I have a virtual instrument MIDI track with my Stephen Slate drums plugin on it, and I want to convert the MIDI track to an audio track. On the essential palette of Layout 4, we have included the MIDI to audio batch command. To perform this batch command, you will need to confirm a few items in Pro Tools are selected. First, confirm the Link Track and Edit selection option is turned on, and the Link Timeline and Edit selection is turned on. Last, make sure the Import After Bounce option is checked on and you're set to bounce offline in your bounce to disk settings. To confirm these bounce settings, first go to the File menu and select Bounce To menu and select Disk. Hit Bounce to lock in your settings and then hit Escape on your keyboard to cancel the bounce and lock in your bounce to disk settings changes. Select your MIDI track and with your cursor on the timeline, hit MIDI to Audio and watch Raven first solo the track and then copy the name of the track. Then, it will select all the clips or regions on the MIDI track and bounce to disk, pasting the name of the track copied previously for the bounce. Then, it will import the audio to a new audio track after the bounce is complete. On Layout 4, we have included some very powerful custom window configuration batch commands that allow you to not only access various custom fader groups, but also recall specific track show-hide memory locations to associate fader groups and their associated plugins with single-touch buttons. Window configuration 1 is associated with memory location 22. Our window configurations are associated with specific memory locations which are detailed in the user manual. For example, Window configuration 2 is associated with memory location 23. Window configuration 3 is associated with memory location 24. First, let's use our Show Selected Tracks batch command on our Fader Focus panel to show only these selected guitar tracks. Now, let's set the guitar tracks to memory location 22. To do this, I'll hit Enter on the keyboard, and on the Memory Locations window, I'll check the box for enabling Track Show Hide, and then select None under Time Properties and hit OK. Now, let's open the plugins on the guitar track and position them how we'd like. Once we like their appearance, hit New Window Config and save it to Window Configuration 1. Now, let's hit the Restore Previous Tracks batch command on the Fader Focus panel and put our Window Configuration 1 batch command into action. And as you can see, with one button, I was able to show only my guitar tracks from the full session view and open the plugins on the guitar track as I had positioned them for adjustment. Although we have included a number of preset batch commands for naming tracks, you can also create your own custom preset naming batch commands. To program your own custom key command-based batch command, push and hold a batch command you'd like to write and the programming interface will open. First hit Key Command and type as an example, name. Now, let's hit Key Command again and this time, hit the spacebar to add a space after the name. Now hit Key Command and type the number 1. Next, hit Key Command and enter Control Cursor Right. Now we'll repeat this sequence, again hitting key command and typing the word name, then key command spacebar, and then key command and the number 2, and then again key command control cursor right, and so on, repeating the sequence for the custom names you wish to include. Once finished, hit key command and add a return at the end. Last, give the batch command a name, choose a color, and then hit confirm to lock in the batch command. Now, select the top track of the tracks you'd like to name and open the track naming window by double tapping and hit your new batch command. Important: when using the Alt and Start modifiers within the batch command system, it's important to use the quick list items as Pro Tools does not recognize simulated modifiers. We'll cover how to use these in the next section. When using the Alt and Start modifiers within the batch command system, it's important to use the quick list items as Pro Tools does not recognize simulated modifiers. As an example, let's create a batch command to hide all floating windows using the Alt, Control, and Start modifiers. Press and hold a batch command and hit Quick List. First, search and select Alt down. Next, search and select Window down. Then search and select Control down. Now close the quick list using the close button on the lower right corner and hit key command and enter W. Hit the quick list again and then search and select Alt up. Then search Window up, and last search and select Control up. Now close the quick list. We'll give the batch command a name and color and hit confirm. Now let's open 2 plugin windows and then hit our new batch command. Watch as the batch command closes and opens the plugin windows. Programming your own favorite plugin chain is easy. Push and hold a batch command you'd like to write and hit Quick List. Let's search for Favorite Plugin. Look through the list and select Favorite Plugin 1 on Insert 1 and hit Select. Next, locate Hide Floating Windows under the same search and select it. Next, locate Favorite Plugin 2 Insert 2 under the same search and select it. Next, locate Hide Floating Windows under the same search and select it. Now, locate Favorite Plugin 3 Insert 3 and select it. Next, locate Hide Floating Windows under the same search and select it. Last, locate Favorite Plugin 4 Insert 4 and select it, and close the quick list. Let's add 1000 milliseconds of delay to each line to confirm the plugin has time to load before launching the next command. Now, let's name and choose a color for the batch command. You can hit More here to choose from a color wheel. Close the color wheel with the X on the top left and hit Confirm to complete the batch command. Now, let's put it into action. Let's select these 4 audio tracks that do not have plugins and hit our new batch command. We have created tons of great preset batch commands across your layouts and have also shown you how to customize your own batch commands using key commands and quick list items. Another really powerful feature to the batch command system is the ability to record your own custom mouse clicks. Push and hold a batch command to open the batch command system programming menu. Now, we'll hit the record button to record our script. First, we'll click the pre-roll field on the transport here and press 2 and then enter. Next, we'll click the post-roll field and enter 24 and then enter. Once completed, hit the record button again and name your new batch command. This will save to your user recordings tab here for later use as well. Now, I'll just add my new recording into my batch command line, give the button a name and color, and hit confirm. Now, watch my new custom recorded batch command set up my pre-roll and post-roll amounts automatically. We recommend reviewing our user manual, accessible within the Raven settings, as well as visiting our Slate Media Technology forum and joining the community of users, again accessible in your Raven settings. The forum is great for asking how-to questions, requesting or sharing custom batch commands, and much more. Last, if you ever have any questions when using the application, never hesitate to contact our customer support department by visiting slatesupport.com and opening a ticket. Our customer support representatives are available to assist you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.